Hey guys, I want to give you a basic lesson of how to produce music. I'm going to be using Ableton. So guys, yeah, this first part is going to be a little bit boring. I just want to show you around the digital audio workstation so you can get started. The different things you kind of need to know. And then we're going to start making a beat. We're going to start first with making using samples, and then we're going to use plugins, and then we'll try to put it together. And this way I'm kind of walking you through making a beat, and you're gonna see basically all the essential steps you need to get started on your own. And this should be able to translate to different audio workstations. Okay guys, so let me show you a little bit around this Ableton. It's called a digital audio workstation. Now if you can see here on the top left of the corner beside the word tap, we can change here the tempo of the song. You can either type it in, or you can click with your mouse and drag up and down. Now on this tool, on this menu, side menu on the left here, we see different categories. We have sounds, drums, instruments, audio effects, plugins, clips, and samples. If you have virtual instruments, you're going to find them in this plugin menu, and they're going to be divided over here. If you want to click and drag and use one of your virtual instruments, for example, here is Serum 2, you'll left click with your mouse and you'll have to drag it into a MIDI lane. So right here, you see, I'm clicking, we have audio lanes or MIDI lanes. If you do not have a MIDI lane, simply right click and you right click on this column here, and you're going to see insert MIDI track or audio track. So let's do that. We're going to insert a MIDI track and we're going to pull it in here once more. And there is my plugin with all the different presets here. What else do we really need to know? Now, if you want to be recording your preset sounds, like let's say you want to plug in your piano, or you can play on your actual keyboard. So what we want to do is make sure that we have this red record button clicked, and then when we actually start recording here, we're going to have to go up to the top over here and click record. Okay, and now you can see it's recording. The same thing would have to be with an audio. You would have to click the red button here and then click record to get the audio recording. Now, as you can see here, everything is divided into rhythm and time. So when I double click, I'm able to create a clip, a MIDI clip. Then I drag it out. I right click and I get consolidate. And underneath the MIDI clip, we see there's a piano keyboard where I can draw the notes in. Now you have to be able to select what time grid you want to have. If I prefer to use 1/8 or 1/16. As you can see, if I click something higher, it divides up the grid. Into smaller chunks. And then I can select these small chunks. And you see, I can clip it off and create an isolated track. Like this. I can clip this off by just left clicking and dragging it down, the selected part. So once again, I'm going to select a part of the grid, left click and drag down. Okay, and now whenever I select a clip here, it's going to show me it on the piano roll, that clip. Now if you want to combine different clips together, So I'm gonna left click and drag my mouse to select it, right click and then click consolidate, and it's gonna merge them together. Okay, so anytime you want to change the grid view, maybe to force, you see here, it's going to change how much you can actually select from the grid. Same thing if you're in the piano roll, you see it's subdivided into many small grids. I don't want this. So I'm going to change, right click, go to fix grid, and I'm going to click 1/8. And so now you can see it changed the rhythm grid. If you don't want to be using a grid, you can turn it off. And now look, it's not, you can drag it and it's not going to clip it to a specific fixed time. So this is where your plugins are on the left side. If we're looking for audio clips, we're going to click samples. And there's a lot of samples that come in built in into Ableton. If you want to use your own samples, simply click and drag them into the audio. Just like this. If you have your own audio files, you just click them, left click and drag them. Just left click and drag them and they're going to pop up over here. If you do take an audio clip and you drag it into a MIDI, it will actually give you an option to convert the audio into a MIDI clip. So let's see what happens there. And it shows you what note that was. All right, so that's now the other thing is, you're gonna have to obviously set up your folders, go to preferences, and you're gonna have to set up your go to your library, you're gonna have to go to plugins and make sure you set up all the proper locations to where all your plugin folders are. Okay, so now I think we're ready. What else? What else do we need? So this is where the audio effects are. Same thing. You left click if you want to use some sort of audio effect and you drag it to your audio channel. You also have a master channel on the bottom of the screen. So you can drag your audio effects into there. For example, like a compressor here. And what else? Then we have the MIDI effects. Like arpeggiators and pitch are the ones that I use the most. And what else would you need? And also here on the top left screen, obviously, we have an option to save our file here. We can also export our audio, and we can also have an option to export just our MIDI clip. If you if you just right click the MIDI clip, you also can export it this way by going down to the menu and clicking export MIDI clip. If I want to be able to zoom in on the screen or on the piano roll, I drag my mouse over here and it turns into a magnifying glass. I left click, if I drag it down, it zooms in. If I drag it up, it zooms out. The same thing if I go to my piano roll and I go up to the point where it turns into a magnifying glass and I drag it down, I zoom in. And if I drag it up, I'm able to zoom out. If I go to the actual sidebar of the piano roll, then I can stretch the screen both directions when I pull it to the left and to the right. It's just a basic course for you guys. Okay, so here I took a sample. I just dragged it into this audio channel. Okay, now I'm going to find some drum samples to drag in. I just left click and drag. Now I'm going to change the pitch, the sound. So now I'm pitching it up. I'm trying to create a melody with a bass line. But do you notice how when I change the pitch, the audio either gets sped up or slows down? So if I click warp, it's going to keep the speed, the original speed of the audio, and then I can change the pitch. Obviously, you need to know a little bit of music theory to understand which notes, which pitch I can select that's going to be in key, but so now I'm going to let's add some MIDI. So we're going to create some chords for this little loop. I'm going to add a piano. I drag it into the MIDI channel. I double click and I extend the clip. I right click and I hit consolidate, and then you can see how there's a piano roll on the bottom that I'm going to be using to draw in my chords. So if you guys want a video explaining some basic theories of scales and chords and music theory to be used, let me know and I can make a video for that. Right now I'm just showing you the essential mechanics of making a beat, assuming you already know some music theory. So what I'm doing here is I'm dragging around the chord progression, the chord into different positions on the piano roll. So I'm just finding other chords. Okay, so I made the chord progression. Now I'm going to make a melody for the piano. Actually, what I'm going to show you is how you can take a sample and move it around and reuse the bits of audio. So you see, I click and drag. So what I did here is I clicked and I froze the track, I dragged down the audio, and then I resampled it. Okay, now I'm going to create the melody. I'm adding a new MIDI track. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some plugins, how you can use plugins. So you drag into your track. Here I'm going to use an arpeggiator, and it's going to play the notes of the chord. Instead of playing the chord all at once, it'll play the notes in order. So now I'm just going to move things around, rearrange it to make the song sound a little bit more interesting. Okay, great. So there's other options. You can get drum racks and make up your own drum loops if you want to make it original instead of using make your own drum beats instead of using a pre-made loop. So you can play with it and come up with your own beats. You can also find buy plugins and use those sounds. You can also combine it together with a drum loop. Now we're going to make things a little bit more interesting. We're going to talk about using paid plugins. Here I'm using Serum. And these are different presets that I bought. You can find some for free. You can look at Spire and buy presets for cheap. Splice. You can go to Splice and buy presets that are cheap. So here I chose an electronic sounding preset. Now I'm going to add a different type of preset for the melody that I wrote. And here I'm going to use a MIDI effect of pitching down, of changing the pitch, because it's too high and I don't want to click and drag all the notes down, so it's a nice easy shortcut. Okay, I want to create a bass line. So I'm going to take this track, I'm going to keep the arpeggiator. I'm going to delete the top notes of the chords and just keep the bass note. And I'm going to find a bass preset that sounds good. Okay, so now I want to record what the arpeggiator is playing. So I'm going to create a MIDI track. I have to find the track that I want to record. So it's for Serum. And I want to click the red button, which means record. And click the record button on top. So now it's been recorded into the MIDI track. I can move it back up to where I have the VST, and I can modify the notes to change. So here I'm going to modify the notes, I can move them around to create the bass line that I want. Now let's go into the audio effects and see you have a bunch of audio effects. I'm just showing you the possibilities and things that you can use. So we're going to click and drag EQ. You can click any of these ones and play around and create the sounds that you want. Okay, so I want to show you automation. So I'm going to put in an audio. I'm going to put an audio effect here, an auto filter. So a filter, and to automate it, I can either right click what specific parameter I want to automate in the plugin, or there's these two connected dots beside the lock on the sidebar here. They can click to open up automation. And then you just click on this line and you change the parameters. So yeah, that's basically about it. I just wanted to give you a quick overview of the different things you would need to start producing music. So if you, so some things you need to know is right here, this is your BPM. This is where you control the tempo of the song. If you want to record something using an actual MIDI controller, you're gonna have to click this red button over here in order for it to read your instrument.